Hey guys, welcome to another meal plan. Today's meal plan is for those of you out there who have a high metabolism and are super high energy. So we need a little more carbs to get you through your workouts and your day. Now today's meal plan is inspired by Jace Herondale, so make sure you wash your hands and let's get started with some cooking. All right, so let's get started with breakfast. Now for breakfast, you're gonna have some high protein pancakes with some grade B maple syrup. Now I'm gonna have a recipe in the description below, and basically what these pancakes are is that they have some nuts and some protein powder, a lot of things to keep the protein high and the carb lower. And grade B maple syrup is very low in sugar, it's better for you. Your body doesn't process it like the stuff you would get from the store. The stuff that you get from the store is actually corn syrup and some flavoring, and we don't want any of that. So we want to get the natural grade B maple syrup, and I'll put a link below as to where you can find that. Okay, so between breakfast and lunch, you're going to want a snack probably. So what you're going to have is some fresh fruit. Now you can do green apples, some citrus fruit, berries. Just make sure you avoid really high sugar things like pineapple, mango, or dried fruit. Okay, so for lunch, you're going to get a salad with 5 ounces of protein and some baked potato wedges on the side. I'll have a recipe for both of those below in the description, but for your salad, you can really add whatever you want. Some nuts, tomatoes, cucumbers, whatever you want to toss in there, whatever you like. Just make sure you avoid things like strawberries or sugar-coated nuts or something like that. You want to make sure everything is unprocessed and as low sugar as possible. So between lunch and dinner, if you need a snack, the best thing is going to be half a protein bar. Now you want to make sure this protein bar is super low sugar. My favorite are the Paleo bars from Julian's Bakery, which I've linked below. And I think I've talked about these before, so if you haven't checked them out yet, now would be the perfect time to check into those. So now it's time for one of my favorite meals, which is dinner. Now I'm going to show you how to make 2 parts of dinner in this video right after this, but first I'm going to tell you what you need to eat for dinner. So the first thing is you're going to need protein. Now you can do whatever protein you want. Maybe it's fish, maybe it's some grass-fed beef, maybe it's some free-range chicken. Just make sure you avoid anything like cheese or dairy products. You don't want any of that in this meal plan. But we are going to do something really special for the side. If you love garlic bread, you're going to love this because we are going to make gluten-free garlic bread to go with your meat, and we're going to make some really amazing baked garlic, olive oil, zucchini, and yellow squash, and it's actually my favorite thing to make. I think I make it like 3 times a week. So I'm going to show you how to make both of those things. You ready? All right, let's grab some stuff. So first you're going to grab your bread. Now, I want you to get 6 slices of gluten-free bread. So you can use any gluten-free bread of your choice. I have this one just because I find that it's the most like real bread. I'll link you below. And what you're gonna do is you're just gonna grab some melted butter. Now, it depends on how much melted butter you wanna use. Usually I use about 2 tablespoons for 6 slices. And then to your butter, you're just going to add a little bit of salt, however much you like to taste. I use about 6 shakes. And then you're gonna use your garlic powder. And I like to use a tablespoon. Now you may like to use less or more depending on how much garlic you like, but I like a lot of garlic. And then you're just gonna take a basting brush, and you can either use the ones that look like a little paintbrush or the like silicone kind from a baking store or the dollar store. So just mix up your melted butter, your garlic powder, and your salt in a bowl. Just like this. Oh, it smells so good already. Can't wait to eat this. Then just get a little bit, and you're just gonna brush the tops of your gluten-free bread until you have all the gluten-free bread kind of covered. Now, if you don't like quite as much garlic, or you don't like it to be as stoked with flavor, you can just go a little lighter on your layer. But I like a ton on mine, so I usually cover the whole thing. Sometimes I run out and I have to make more of the butter mixture. That's just because I really love garlic and I really love ghee. I make mine with ghee because I'm allergic to casein. Seriously, you guys, this smells so good. And this is gonna taste way better than like a certain Italian restaurant that we all know. Olive Garden. No shade there, just can't eat at Olive Garden because of all the gluten. And see, I have already run out of butter in mine because I put more on than, most people do. So I only got 3.5 slices done, So I'm just gonna put these in the oven under the broiler for a few minutes. You wanna watch these. You don't wanna walk away, because if you walk away, you might end up with garlic charcoal. And I don't know about you guys, but I kind of prefer toast to charcoal. So I'm just gonna put these in the broiler for a few minutes, and you're just gonna let them in until they're golden brown. I'll go stick these in. All right, so I pulled them out of the oven and I put them on a plate. And this is what they should look like when they're done. They're a little bit golden brown around the edges, and depending on how well done you like your garlic bread, you can leave them in for longer or a little less. So that was the garlic bread part of this recipe. Should we move on to the squash? Okay, cool, I'll go grab the squash. All right, so here's my squash, my garlic powder, and my olive oil. Ooh, looks like I need a knife and cutting board. So the first thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna take your zucchini and your yellow squash, and you're gonna pick one. So I'll just start with zucchini. And you're just gonna go ahead and cut the top off and just toss that out somewhere. All right, now you're just gonna do thin slices. Now your slice should pretty much be about this thick. I'd say it's probably about 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch. You don't want them too terribly thick, but you don't want them thin either. If they're too thin, they're just gonna come out kind of mushy, and it's gonna be really nasty. You kind of want a decent size so that when they cook down, they're still like a bite of squash and not just a mushy piece of paper, which would be really disgusting. When you get to the other end, you can just cut off the end away from you. Don't cut towards you. And then we'll move on to the yellow squash. Just do the same thing, cutting the end off. If you want, you can just start by cutting both ends off. That way it might be a little bit easier. And some of your slices are gonna be a little thicker than others. Some are gonna be a little bigger. That's totally okay. Some will just cook a little more than others. You can all eat all of it. It just tastes super awesome. Now, if the pieces are just a little bit too big, like this is pretty big, you can go ahead and just cut it in half and then throw it in the bowl. All right, so now we're gonna move on to actually putting all the good tasting stuff on top of the squash. So move the cutting board out of the way. And this is why I told you guys to wash your hands. You guys are gonna pour your olive oil into your bowl. And you need about 3 tablespoons for this, but you may find, depending on how much squash you need a little more, a little less. And then just get out your garlic powder. And just like with the garlic bread, you can add more or less depending on how much you want. I have about 2 tablespoons here. And then a little bit of salt on top. Here's where it gets super, super messy, okay? You're just gonna go in with those freshly washed hands, and we're just gonna mix it until you have oil and garlic powder on all of it. You want all of it coated really well. All right, once it's completely covered, go ahead and go wash your hands and grab a cookie sheet with some parchment paper on. All right, so here's my cookie sheet. So you're just gonna take your squash and put it on the cookie sheet. And you can use either a fork or a knife or just your hands again to spread them out, just so they're arranged flat on the tray. You don't want any on top of each other if you can help it. If you have some really thin ones, then maybe you can layer them up if you have some really thick ones too. That way, when you bake them, they come out at the same time and you don't have any that are like overcooked. All right, so now that they're all on your cookie sheet, you're just gonna put these in the oven at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. Now, depending on what altitude you're at and how thick you cut your slices, it may be a little more, a little less. You just want them to be a little bit squishy. You don't want them to be like mush, and they taste really good. So go ahead and put these in the oven. I'll see you in a few minutes. All right, so I got my squash out of the oven, And this is what they look like when they're done. They're super awesome. They smell absolutely amazing. And this is just one serving size for what I've decided to eat. But the tray that I made should do about 3 to 5 servings depending on what size serving you're having and what else you're eating with it. Alright guys, and that's all there is to it. There's a link in the description below that features the full meal plan with recipes and links on where to get everything you need to make the meals you've seen in this video. Now, if you liked this meal plan and you want to be updated when I post more meal plans, don't forget to hit the little bell icon to get notifications every time I post a new video, and hit the little subscribe button to stay updated with all my videos, including a matching workout for this video. Thank you guys so much for subscribing, and don't forget to leave a comment below to let me know what you thought about this video and what happened when you tried these recipes out for yourself. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys!